someone may have different views of their own, then let's talk to one another. Let's reason with one another on a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man. A live broadcast every Sunday at 12 noon on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHBR, and Comcast Cable. Why don't you call and let's discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and the true meaning. So tune in to a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man every Sunday at 12 noon, right here on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHBR, and Comcast Cable. You can call in live on the air at area code 868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Of course, the area code is 313. That's 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. And now let's go live. Scriptural discussion, the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you once again who hunger and thirst for Allah's understanding of his righteousness and the truth that he revealed through his prophets. I greet you as a representative of him. May Allah's salam alaikum. I want to say that unlike these people who have radio programs or whatnot that push one candidate over another, which is fine because I do that. I haven't made it no secret that I support Ms. Clinton. But at the same time, I haven't voted yet. And I have left the door open for people who support Donald Trump to come in and tell me and convince me as to why they think Donald Trump is more qualified to be president than Hillary Clinton. I don't hear Rush Limbaugh and all of them doing that. Because if they did, I'd go on that. I'm not a person who likes to give one-sided views, because a judgment based on one-sided evidence that was never questioned or cross-examined is a false balance. If you notice it in the book of Revelation, it says, I beheld a black horse, and he that sat upon him had a pair of balances in his hand, a pair, not one side, but had a pair of them, allowing people to come in. You notice the symbol for justice. Justice, a lady with a blindfold on and a pair of balances. Why? Because the judge is supposed to be an impartial witness that bases his rulings not on his sight, but on what he hears. You know, if all judges were blind, it would be good. I don't mean it would be good that they are blind because they are blind. It would be good that they could only judge by what they heard and not because they sized up somebody and didn't like his looks. Because once a judge decides to take a side, then that's like bending a fulcrum to the left or to the right. And when you put something on that fulcrum, it's going to make that fulcrum show, it's going to make the balances read false, because whichever way it's leaning, it's going to be heavier to that side. So this judge and that's been overseeing that lynching there in Philadelphia. He's steady arguing back and forth with Dr. Cosby's counsels. He has no business doing that. A judge is not supposed to argue with the counsels for the prosecution or the defense. He is supposed to hear their arguments and make rulings based on what he heard from them. Because if he begins to argue with a counsel concerning something that a counselor presents, then he has the counselor at a disadvantage. Because not only is he making the argument, but he's making the ruling on his argument. And whether you know it or not, you see, most people don't know that a judge, he's only a lawyer. And those two that's standing there arguing in front of him, all of them are lawyers. But since he chose to be a judge, then he had to put his practice aside. He practice law on the bench. He has to make rulings for those who are practicing law. Now he can't argue your case for you. Even if he sees something that he would have done if he was the opposite counsel, he has to shut his mouth. And base his rulings on the evidence that he heard, not that he thought up in his mind. But these people in this country have practiced injustice for so long and seemingly gotten away with it. That's what happens when you grant someone respite. And I'll show you a good example of respite. You notice sometimes when the police get behind somebody, they go a mile or two 2 miles before they pull you over. Is that right? Now he gave you that little distance, maybe because he was running your tags or whatever. But pretty much when he pull you over, for the most part, if it's a righteous stop, you know why you've been pulled over. Is that right? You know why you're being pulled over. But now if he lets you go 10 miles or 20 miles, you know, a lot of times you want to know what his problem is. The thing is, that wasn't the best example, I know. But the best example is the present world that Allah said, surely thou art of the respited ones. In the Bible, Allah told Cain, he said, a fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And it shall come to pass that whosoever findeth thee will slay thee. That's why every time a messenger of God came, he slew the wicked with truth, causing sin to go into remission. When Jesus was here, he recognized that the religious people was a bunch of hypocrites and devils. And he called them that. And but they had been practicing their false ways and their unjust ways for so long that they were deceived by their own, by the respite that was given to them. Deceived into thinking that their wrong must be right. And you hear people say that. Well, I must be doing something right because I got plenty. Do you understand? And so when they come to the prophets and be saying they are believers and that they are peacemakers, and they seek to deceive the prophets of God and the messengers of God. They seek to deceive Allah and his representatives. And they don't deceive nobody but themselves. But they don't know that. So I don't ever want to be living in self-deception. The best way to keep yourself from deceiving yourself is if you can't find an argument against what you are saying or doing, if you are sober-minded, then you open the door of disagreement to others and ask them, come in and show me what it is I'm saying or doing that you can find fault with according to the Word of God. You see, and when you put it to them like that, and that's what has kept me from deceiving myself. It has helped me to be more faithful in what Allah has given me, to be trusting that it is Allah speaking to me and not my own devils. You see? And so, no, I don't support Donald Trump for president. But it's not because of what his name is. It's not because of anything. but what I have observed in his deeds and his actions, and the history that I have dug up on him. All of this, the things that I have found with him about people having fraud cases against him and all of this, people accusing him of having raped him, him confessing to what amounts to sexual assault, and boasting that he could get away with it because he's a star. That telling the American people that he feels that if their sons or daughters got captured as prisoners of war, that he would condone their sons and daughters being tortured. He would abandon the Geneva Convention. See, most people that was listening to him didn't realize what they were hearing when he said that he would bring back waterboarding and he would bring back torture. If you okay torture on your side, then you can't forbid it on the other side. You are okaying it. You are telling all of those who may have American sons and daughters that were they captured in warfare. You're telling them that it's okay with you if they torture them. So in other words, when you hear people say all is fair in love and war, the only one that would say that is someone that is not, that has no love in them. You can't say that if you have ever really loved someone. Because you know, that is to say that, sister says she can't hear nothing. Well, you need to turn your volume up. You cannot, on the one hand, say it's okay. America to torture people. But it's not okay for other people to do that. You've already condemned the beheadings and things that you saw done by those people who call themselves Islamic State, which is a farce. And Allah's going to punish every one of you. You had no business attributing what you are doing to Islam. Islam does not condone man being inhumane to his fellow man, even in war. The reason you hate America so much is because really you're jealous of America. That's your real problem. You can't produce nothing like America, which is proof. You ain't found no other country on earth like America. You know why? For the same reason you ain't found no other man on earth like me. It's because Allah brought us both into existence. It's his doing. You see everybody else trying to set up them a government and trying to copy this and can't. And these who Allah gave it to have become complacent and ungrateful, and now they are losing it. So I'm trying to warn you and make you rethink your position. You know what they say, when you have something and don't have a full appreciation for what you have, you soon won't have it. It's like these people who walk around here in this country and openly talk about they would like to overthrow the government or do whatever to it. As long as they're just talking, the constitution of the very nation that they wants to get rid of protects their right to want to get rid of it. And they don't have sense enough to appreciate and to rethink their position. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad compared us in the hereafter and what we would be following. He said it would be much like the Constitution is followed today. Do you know what that means for a messenger to compare something that this world has to what we will have in the hereafter? It means you better take a second look at what you got here. Because as long as you respect that document, as long as they respect that document, you can't overthrow an idea with bullets and bombs. Once an idea takes root in the human family, the only thing that will actually destroy that idea is a better idea. And as long as the idea that you have can find no argument from a better idea, you can try all you want. That idea ain't going nowhere. Only thing it's going to do is keep growing in the minds of people. Just like a virus, if you ain't got nothing that you can destroy it with, it's going to keep on multiplying. It's going to take over. Do you understand? Okay. So, now, the wonderful thing about me knowing that what I have is good is that I don't have to fear nobody's argument. Because if someone comes up with a better argument than what I have, then it's going to be better than the idea I had anyway. So it's a win-win situation with me. I'm not afraid that of who gonna walk through the door that can come with something that's got more good in it than what I have. Well, if yours got more good in it, then I'm gonna unadopt what I got and adopt what you have, and ask, can I be your first follower? The reason I don't have no whole lot of followers is because I don't make people ministers and stuff. I know we still haven't grown up enough to be happy when someone comes that knows the way and don't need our help to tell it, but need our help to do it. We want to be good tellers of it. You heard that preacher come in here. I asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm preaching. I'm preaching." Yeah, if all you're doing is preaching, faith without works is dead. If all I was doing was just talking, then I would be like a piano or a violin or something. What is the point? If I can speak with the words of prophets and of scholars, but if I don't have any charitable works, then I ain't no more than a musical instrument. I do you about as much good as a musical instrument. Make you feel good, give you a good feeling sometime, but a good feeling ain't gonna get you out of poverty. A good feeling is not going to change you to a righteous and upright human being. That's going to take labor. So I'm going to, before I show you some things tonight, I would like you to tell me whether or not there's someone listening that wants to take me to task about something that I said. And any of Mr. Trump's followers, and you know I'm not just saying this because you've seen me interview Mr. Thomas Robb, who is the national director of the Ku Klux Klan, and you cannot say that I was disrespectful to him. I gave him the same respect that I wanted to be given. And he came in here twice, and he wouldn't have came back twice if I had disrespected him once. Just because you disagree with people don't give you the right to be disrespectful. Especially when you're accusing them of wronging you, and then you turn around and wrong them, and then want to say, well, that's good for you. Well, then he can turn around and say, well, it was good for you then. That's why I couldn't understand these people running around here talking about Al-Awlaki was an American citizen and they shouldn't have sent no drones to get him. If I'd have been up there, I'd have sent him. If he'd been out here trying to kill the citizens that I'm supposed to be the president of and supposed to be protecting. You don't know the difference in a citizen and a traitor? So I guess you would let cancer just run rampant in your body. Don't kill it. It's a cell. It's one of my cells. Leave it alone. Leave it alone if you want to. You soon won't be having to worry about it no more. Lessons. And you know the sad part? Them silly people who call themselves Republicans in Congress, they knew that they were misleading you by suggesting that something was wrong with the president sending drones after Al-Awlaki and all of those people who were turncoats to this nation. But anything that that man has done because he's black, they tell you it was wrong. You know the only thing that was wrong with the Affordable Health Care Act? in their eyes, the real problem. They didn't come up with it. And it really has helped the American people. And if they acknowledge that it has helped you, then on what do they base running against him and trying to move the Democrats or the people who've been doing so much for the country? On what do they base them running them out of office? So they just want power and they don't care how they get it, which is proof that they don't deserve it. Anyone that don't care what they do to get some power, they won't care what they do to keep it. That's the stuff that tyrants are made of. But anyway, since I don't hardly get no argument from nobody no more, it reminds me of that song Al Green was saying, "Ain't no finding me." So I like arguing with people. That's how you get smarter. You don't get wiser by talking to people who are less knowledgeable than you. You get wiser by talking to equals or people who are greater in knowledge than you. You can have more knowledge than me. If I have wisdom, I'll do more with what you know than what you ever thought of doing. So it don't intimidate me to talk to somebody who's more knowledgeable of something than me, because I have wisdom. Matter of fact, I don't just have wisdom, I am wisdom. You see? So, that's just like people, like the man from the Washington Post asked me, what was I, a lawyer or something? And I told him, no. It's just, you remember when in Dune, when the man asked the young Paul Muad'Dib, when he went to help show him how to put on that desert suit, and he went to show him, and he said, "You've already got it on right. Who taught you how to do this?" And he said, "It just seemed the proper way." That's the same with me and justice. I mean, if you're going to be the judge in this system, you can be arguing with the attorneys. You've left the bench and have taken a side. You're not supposed to take a side. You're just supposed to hear the two sides argue with each other and referee. Not input. You're not supposed to be introducing no evidence. You're the judge. That's the way this world and its court system works. That's why they put a blindfold on the justice. You just hear. You don't say nothing. You put the balance up there and you just hear and let the two sides put their evidence on, and whichever way the scale leans, the one that put the weightier evidence on, that's the one that's supposed to win. And the reason it starts off tilted, not because it's unjust, it starts off tilted because in a court of law, it is not up to the court of law. It is not up to the defendant to prove that he's innocent. Innocent until the prosecutor or his accusers prove that he's guilty. So it starts off leaning towards the defendant, because Allah loves not the aggressor. So if Allah loves not the aggressor, he always with taking the side of the one who's just defending himself. Until he finds out that maybe the one who's defending himself is the one who started all that mess. He was the aggressor before he became the defendant. Now, do you understand? But the evidence got to prove that. But anyway, let me a minute to what I wanted to show you tonight. I want you to see something that, Michael Moore, he was, I was like him in my support of Bernie Sanders. And I didn't have nothing specific that I could see. I'm not like most people. Most people they will hear someone else say something about you. Whether they know that it's true or not, whether they know if it's true or not, if they hear enough people saying it, they just assume it must be true. And they start saying it too. And then when someone asks them, well, where's your proof of that? All they can say is, well, everybody knows it. No. I'm asking you, where's the proof of it? Should tell you that everybody don't know it, because if I knew it, I wouldn't be asking you for the proof of it. You know what really bothers them? After they really think about it and take a look at themselves, they may not like what they see. And that's why they get mad at me. I had the decency to ask for proof of what they were accusing Miss Clinton of, instead of just taking what people say and running with it. When all they did was jumped on the bandwagon. That's what got Jesus crucified. Bandwagon people like you. That man hadn't did nothing. But the politicians who call themselves religious people in his day and time hatched schemes to lie to the people when Jesus needed to die. We've been sacrificing bulls and lambs and stuff, but God done revealed to us that all we got to do is sacrifice this man. And Jesus called them just what they was. He said, you hypocrites. Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law. The law said, thou shalt not kill, don't it? He asked them, then why are you going about trying to kill me? Do that sound like Jesus had told anybody he came here to die for them? And them liars are still preaching that same lie today, but it's going to stop. Now, you notice they don't come in here and preach it to me. And I let them. They can't find nowhere in the book that Jesus told them, God sent me here for you to kill me so you can live, you can have salvation. Jesus ain't never told nobody that they're supposed to kill him. But the chief priests and them said Jesus needed to die. That's what they said. And you still following them today. hating Jesus. You don't kill nobody if you love them. You go along with killing them if you don't love them. Is that right? Yeah. So you ain't talking about, oh, how I love Jesus. You lying. I love Jesus. No. He said, if you love me, keep my commandments. Which of the commandments, which of Jesus's words have I not kept? You the one ain't keeping. You who put on a show, talking about you love Jesus. No, you don't, because you ain't practicing nothing he taught. So now, the truth is powerful, ain't it? The truth is the eighth heaven. See heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. No man was able to open the book, to open heaven. No. No man in heaven, neither in the earth, neither under the earth was able to open the book, neither to look thereon. So Allah said he was going to create a man. Since he created the heaven and the earth, he had to create a mortal, a man who could open heaven. And so this is it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he prevailed over his fear of white people and prevailed over the stigmatism of slavery. And like a lion, when all of the rest of us was walking around here fearful, he was walking around in America for 43 years, saying things about white people that most of us were scared to think, let alone let it come out your mouth. And so the lion of the tribe of Shabazz, the book said Judah, have prevailed to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. And as he said in 74, he said, Allah has loosed us. The seals is the prophets. Muhammad was a seal. I know what I told you. 7 seals that keep you from being able to open the book, which is those 7 things that the Lord hates. But the seals of the book is also the messengers of God. And when Elijah opened the book, then he told me, now, if you want to talk to Allah, because he had told me that all of him and all of the prophets are my Allah. And I could talk to them now by reading the book. He had loosed the seals. And now they are ascending and descending on my brain. You see? Yeah. That's pretty plain, isn't it? Okay. So now, I want you to see this. I'm going to let Michael Moore talk to you a minute.
Now Moore is out with a new documentary called Michael Moore in Trumpland. It's part impassioned soliloquy, part focus group, In the film, Moore speaks to a theater full of Trump and Clinton supporters in the small Republican-leaning town of Wilmington, Ohio. And he sets out to see if there is such thing as middle ground to be found between these two groups of voters.
Every beaten down, nameless stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them. Who doesn't like the Supreme Court's decision on gay marriage in here? You don't support it, right? Anybody else back there? Sir? Okay, sir? Then don't get gay married. Right?
Well, Michael Moore joins me now. I have to say, Michael, I loved the idea of what you had to do. Bring them all into a room. Frankly, it's what the two presidential candidates should have been doing. It's what many political is, what we in the media probably should be spending more time doing. And it just, you put them all together. How did they interact?
People were fine with each other. That room was about 1/3 Trump people, 1/2 Hillary people, and the others were not going to vote.
Why did they trust you? Why did the Trump people trust you on this?
I've always got, because I grew up amongst, I am them in that way. I mean, I am Trump's demographic. I am an angry white guy over the age of 35.
Okay.
So on that level.
And you'd like to throw a Molotov cocktail at watching it.
And sometimes, yes, I've known that feeling where I'd like to just kind of, let's just blow this up and start it over. I mean, not violently, of course.
Yes.
But, so I understand, but mainly because my friends who lost their jobs in the auto factories and the people who have suffered now, literally some of them for decades, because this started back in the 80s under Reagan. I understand why they're angry, and I understand why they want to do that. So I thought if I could just bring them in the room with a whole bunch of people and speak to each of them, that maybe there was some common ground we could find, and maybe I could convince them to not use the ballot next Tuesday as an anger management exercise.
You know, I thought it was interesting. We played the gay marriage excerpt, not because you point the couple of people that raised their hand about it.
Right.
And it is sort of, I do feel as if that one way we're going to look back on this election is that it's the end of, so I was talking with another longtime Democratic strategist about this, and he believes this too, that our divide had been social issue based. The red-blue divide.
Right.
We are now, and we're seeing, this was the year we found out, oh geez, trade really shakes up both parties. Do you think we're headed to a new red-blue divide that is based on the economy?
Yes, and I think that this is the end of the culture wars. I think that a lot of liberals are saying, oh, Mike, after the election, even if Hillary wins, the other side's going to be so.
And then vice versa. There's pockets in each side that don't. But yes, but the big issues
are over.
Yeah.
They're not going to go to the mat on gay marriage anymore, or pro-choice, or all this stuff. I think that's over. So that's good. We're moving into the future now, and the issues are going to be economic based. Does the government help me as a working person, as a family member, or is the government more concerned about Wall Street? And that's why Trump's been able to speak to people I know when he goes after Hillary for the speeches to Goldman Sachs, or goes against Ford Motor and says, "You build those cars in Mexico, I'm going to put a tariff on them."
You know what's interesting to me is that we know they're in Iowa, which is there are Obama-Trump voters. Okay, they voted Obama in Iowa, and mostly they thought Mitt Romney didn't understand their problems and didn't identify them. And these same people that voted Obama in Iowa are going to vote Clinton.
Right.
How many of those, do you think there are enough of those in Michigan to flip it? And that's going to flip Iowa. Are there enough of those in Michigan?
I think, and I want to warn everybody, do not trust these numbers. I think the Trump vote is being, well, look, I'm in Michigan, so on the morning of the primary in March, all the polls, this network, all the networks,
everybody missed Bernie.
Said that she was going to win that night by 8 to 25 points. Right. And of course, she lost 12 hours later. I think that there is so much despair in the state of Michigan, so much anger at the system. And when people hear Clinton, they hear Bush. When they hear Bush, they hear Clinton. And it's Clinton, Bush, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Clinton, Bush. That's been their life. And that's the system. And that's why he's been able to manipulate. And it's a con job to my friends and people I know in Michigan that are thinking of voting for him. And I am not sleeping basically, because I'm spending this week, last week in these Brexit states and talking to people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania.
It's interesting you're calling them Brexit states.
That's what they are. They're the Brexit states because it's the angry middle class, or used to be the middle class, and now they are people that work 2 jobs and are struggling to get by.
If Hillary Clinton is elected president, what's your advice to her on connecting with this? Because I think look, whoever wins has got to reach out to this angry other side, because there's going to be, if she wins, you know, does she have this theater? Should she have a theater of just Trump supporters in Michigan or Ohio?
She'll win them over, because what she's going to do are going to be all things that help them. She's going to make sure that the women in their families are paid the same as men. She's going to support legislation that has a family leave, a paid maternity leave. She's going to support the things that are going to help them. She's going to fix the pipes in Flint, Michigan, so people aren't drinking poisoned water anymore. I mean, they'll see that, and then they'll go, you know what? And I saw it even in my show there in that Republican town. I had Trump people come up to me afterwards and said they were going to think about what they didn't tell me they were going to vote for Hillary, but I said, well, what made you change your mind? He said, well, you showed that picture of her holding that baby in Estonia when she was out, you know, trying to do research on her health care plan 20 years ago. And they said, you made her look like a human being. I said, well, she is a human being. She's a wonderful human being.
But her problem with some of these folks is the idea is, you know what, though, she plays by her own set of rules, which means ultimately she's going to help her friends before she helps me.
You know, I mean,
that is, how do you shake that?
It's a perception.
Did you hear what he just said? First he said, see, that question was kind of loaded in the sense of, I think the one who asked it didn't hear his own question. If she plays by her own set of rules, then what makes you think that anybody can have some special sway over her? That Donald Trump been knowing her for how long? I mean, they got pictures where they was buddies long time ago. And if you can rest assured that he doesn't have no problem hitting on no married woman. But he didn't get next to her. If she plays by her own set of rules, that's the kind of president you want. Someone who is not dictated to by anyone. You certainly don't want no weak-minded, easily manipulated fool in the position of president. I mean, now they making the same arguments against her that they made against President Obama. Calculating, she's too your feelings. She don't. Just because people don't wear their feelings on their sleeve don't mean they don't have any. A president should not wear their feelings on their sleeve. Because the minute you start doing that, you become too easy to read. You become easily manipulated. So, you know, but anyway, let's let Michael Moore keep telling you. You listen, because he's telling you right.
I think the media has created this. I mean, she probably hasn't helped it herself, but just the fact, like with the email server, why did she have a private server? Because she's been through so much abuse and attack for years. She's thinking to herself, I want my private life to be private. Mm-hmm. It ended up exploding. Now we know that her favorite show was The Good Wife, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. I know everything about her now. The exact opposite of what she wanted to have. But people have just got to get a reality check here. We're talking about emails, folks, versus everything that he said he's going to do to blow up the system. And you don't want to see that. You don't want to see the economy is going to go in the tank the day after this election if he's elected. If you think you're suffering in Michigan now, wait till President Trump is elected. I'm doing my best to explain to people that while they have every right to be upset at what they've had to go
What do
through.
you tell this person? You just said yourself, Clinton,
Yeah.
Bush, Clinton, Bush, Clinton, Bush.
Yeah.
So you're telling them, pick Clinton over Trump. You're telling them, I know your life's going to be miserable with Trump, but then they sit there and say, oh yeah, but Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, and
What I- yeah,
so
well, I know-
why should they believe that?
Yeah, I say that because you're picking the right Clinton this time. You're picking the Clinton, Scott. I'm telling you, she is going to.
Clinton and Bill?
Absolutely. I mean, with no disrespect to him, but she's a woman who's had to go through. So in the first feminists of the 60s and 70s, she's had to suffer. She's walked through the
I
fire.
feel like that scar tissue is going to.
Yes, the memory of what it's been like to be the minority, to be the person who has been harassed and attacked. All the things, the embodiment of that's in Donald Trump. She's lived that, and now she's going to sit in that Oval Office. And you know what? I think the first thing on her mind every day is going to be, let's make sure we don't hurt anybody, especially the children and especially the families. I totally believe that, and I say that as a Bernie voter and as someone who's never voted for her. I'm excited to go and vote for her next Tuesday.
The new movie is Trumpland. I have to say, every time I go on any of my streaming sites, whatever, it's getting some views.
It's quite a few people are watching it. It's number one still in the country. I'm stunned by it. I'm happy. And if people watch it, especially people who are thinking of not voting, that's the worst thing. I want people to watch it if you're thinking of not voting.
Michael Moore.
All right.
Thanks for coming in. Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me in person.
Up next.
Now, I want to remind you that I haven't forgotten about the Constitution. I wanted to, make you aware. If you know the Constitution, that's why I told you, you should go and get a copy, read, find the history of it, and find out all of the things that it entails, so that when someone takes that oath of office, you know what they are swearing or affirming that they will uphold. It's a legitimate question to ask. Here, a man talking about waterboarding people, talking about stopping people from being able to come into this country based on what religion they are. If you can do that, then what you're saying is you're going to put the Constitution away. And how could he say that if he had read the Constitution and is planning on upholding it? If you, in order to go into the government of a nation as vast and powerful as the United States, you should know something about what makes this nation powerful and the envy of most of the other nations of the earth. Things, when you're in the seat of leadership, when you're as America is the cradle of the present world civilizations. That's just another way of saying that America is to the rest of the world as fixed as the sun is to everybody on this earth We don't even give it a second thought because the sun is so dependable that we don't think of it burning out. And that's why all nations, they have a vested interest in the economy of America because they don't think of America as a fly-by-night entity. Of America as being as constant as the North Star, constant as the sun. Do you understand? A man like Donald Trump does not understand that. He thinks that the policies of the United States, whatever was set in motion, at least he gives the impression that he thinks that whatever an administration set in motion before him, that he don't have to follow through on that. And that's a lie. Whatever agreements, whatever pacts that America, that was made by one president, in order to keep the status of a great nation, America's word have to mean something. You can't put a liar. You cannot put a man who thinks that he can go back on his word in the office of president. Because if he thinks he can go back on his word, he thinks the nation can go back on its word. If he thinks that he can game with his creditors, he will handle the nation's business like he handled his own. And that's all you can expect from any man. That's why you want to know something about how he handled his business. But anyway, I want to let you, when I'll give you a good example of the new Nation of Islam came here to Mississippi and began having dealings with business people, banks in particular. They were very slow about, we had to jump through quite a few hoops to borrow a little bit of money. Until they saw that our word is our bond. I don't care how bad things get. A good businessman never borrows money when he is not sure of how he's going to pay it back. Because a good name is not brought about by accident. A good name is brought about by a word that's bond. If you tell people that you're going to do something, regardless to what happens in the housing market or in the banking industry, you pay your debts. And consequently, I take my word for it. You ask any bank around here about Muhammad now, are they good to loan money to, and they will tell you, yeah. You won't even hesitate. They don't even have to go look up the record. We don't stiff nobody. I learned that from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I remember he said in Chicago they used to want to turn him down, but after a while, If he sent somebody over there and they say, if Elijah asks for it, let him have it. Why? They in business to make money. Any bank love to loan me some money, because they know they're going to get their money back with that interest that and that's how they make their money. At least honestly. Now, what else they doing? That's their business. Going there. But they make money by loaning money and charging interest. And so I'm going to let you hear now that you've heard Michael Moore. Did we have a question? I don't want to hear that. That man don't know nothing about Bill Cosby. He don't know nothing but what he heard in the news media. And you're talking about he lynched himself. Bill Cosby ain't did nothing but cheated on his wife and got caught. Tried to keep it a secret and got into an agreement that now is being used against him for something that he didn't do. He didn't say he didn't have an affair with that woman, but that woman lying when she said that she done flew to New York and everywhere else with that man. And now want to say that he did what? That she didn't agree with. No. So, but you know, here this man, this is a good example. This man called himself William Truth and come in here supporting a lie. See, it ain't what you call yourself. You are known by what you do, not by who you say you are. You see, how many times have I asked people for some proof that Dr. Cosby did anything? I gave you some proof that them women, a couple of them women was lying on him. You saw me interview them and show you that they was lying on him. And here he come with his foolishness. If I was you, Mr. Truth, I'd quit while I'm ahead. And that's what I would do if I was you. Because you want to play games with me. I'm not no plaything. If you got something that you can present to us that shows that Dr. Cosby did the stuff that these people was claiming, well, show it. About what was happening back in the 80s. I can tell by the way you come in here lying about your name. You know, you just don't know what was going on in the 60s, man. You know what a hippie is. How many of y'all know what a hippie is? I'll rest my case. You don't know nothing about nothing. You got nerve enough to be coming in here printing some garbage. Not only do I know some hippies, at least I knew some. I used to work for some. Rich people's children that walked out their parents' home and became flower children. I mean, smoking more dope than you can, I mean, everywhere you went. I mean, purple haze. You know what purple haze is? It's LSD. Jimi Hendrix sung about it. You don't know what was going on back in that day when what these women talking about. Ain't nobody did none of them that they didn't want done. They used to ask for it. What you got? You ain't had none, you ain't getting nothing. And that's the way it went. Hey, who you think you're fooling? I was there with you, watching. And you want to come up here to a bunch of people that don't know nothing about nothing and start lying. Anyway, you notice don't none of them come in here. You always like that fella. They sit up out there. You know, that's one of the reasons why don't nobody respect. Most people don't have no respect for the so-called Negro in America. And that is because the so-called Negro don't respect himself. What do he care about how many black men been lynched? Just like they doing Dr. Cosby. I'm not standing up here trying to defend a man who's raped somebody. This fellow forgot that first they were saying Dr. Cosby raped him, and then when they saw that lie wasn't gonna go, then they started saying he assaulted them. Huh? It started off as a joke by somebody named Hannibal Buress. And then they start running with it and blowing it up and making it into something and got people dumb enough, just like you, to start parakeeting the lies that they was telling. You didn't even take the time to say, well, you know, I noticed they bringing all these women on here that's saying this. You mean ain't nobody got an opposing view that they ain't gonna? And the minute that you heard me just asking them women questions, you start seeing their lives fall apart. But anyway, Allah will deal with you. Allah will deal with all of you that support wickedness. If you was accusing him of adultery, I'll tell you right now, yes, he's guilty of that, according to him. Huh? But to accuse him of assaulting or raping, he ain't guilty of that. Don't no black man in America rape a white woman and she's scared to tell it. Did you hear what I said? Hey, don't take my word for it. Ask white people. Let a white person unmute their phone and tell me that a white woman is afraid of any Negro that raped her to go tell it. I don't care who he is. And they'd come get him. All she wants is to just go to the doctor right quick and find his genetic material on her. She'd be rich for the rest of her life. Huh? And he wouldn't be able to do nothing. You know why they don't come in here and say nothing to me? It's because they know they can't come in here and frighten me by roaring and going on, whatever. The truth gonna always win out in here. If you come in here with the truth, you ain't got to scream and holler. The truth screams for you. But you ain't gonna tell me that a black man was raping white women in America and white women were scared to tell on him because he was a powerful man. Black man ain't never been powerful in America. Never. I'll show you an example. President Obama standing up talking to Congress, and a white man yelled out in the middle of the president speaking, "You lie." That ain't never happened to no president. And they didn't even expel him from Congress for his disrespect to the chief executive officer of the United States government. He ain't raped nobody and got disrespected. And he the president. But you gonna tell me Bill Cosby was running around here raping and drugging women and stuff, and white women. And they were scared to tell him. He was too powerful. What did that man say to the president while he was talking to Congress? What was his words? What? Say it. You lie. Yeah, that's what she doing. You lie. Now, I want you to listen. I want you to listen to President Obama speaking now. Even though he was in North Carolina, I think the whole nation needed to hear this.
To you, the 44th President of the
one of the finest North Carolina history. Your former governor, Jim Hunt, is in the house. Your current attorney general and your next governor, Roy Cooper, is here. And your next United States Senator, Deborah Ross, is here. So, and you're here too. Somebody else, what about me? You guys are here too, and I'm going to talk about you. And how much this country is going to depend on you over these next few days. I want to thank all the organizers who are here. I know you've helped rally tens of thousands of volunteers and register more than 100,000 voters right here in North Carolina.
Now, before I let him finish, I'm going to show you why I admire him so much and have been so supportive of him. You know, if you have to lie your way into a position, I'm not naive enough to think that you're going to become truthful and that the truth is going to keep you there. If you had to lie to get in there, you're going to have to lie to stay in there. Any president that cares about this country should never disrespect the American people to just knowingly and outright lie to them to help support or put somebody else in there. If you are a person of integrity, then that is one of the main things that the country, that you as citizens of this country, you should look for in any man that you want to endow with the kind of authority that a president has, especially the president of the United States. You should want someone of integrity. So I want you to pay good attention to what the president has to say. Forget about the fact that he's black and you may not like black people. I done learned to put aside my personal feeling for white people and learn to listen to when white people are talking, listen to see if what they are saying makes sense. And if it makes sense, it don't make no difference what color he is. If it don't make sense, it don't make no difference what color he is. That ain't gonna make it make sense because he's black. If it's foolishness that he's talking, then he's just a foolish black man. If it's foolishness that he's talking and he's white, he's just a foolish white man. All men being created equal is a term that must always be qualified. Because on the one hand, it is true, and on the other hand, it is not. But I know one thing, if you've seen one man and you look at everything that's on him, all of his body parts and features and stuff, you done seen all men when you saw that one. Like that song that the Temptation was singing. He says, your eyes are open, but you refuse to see. The laws of society were made for both you and me. Because of my color, I struggle to be free. Look in the mirror. What do you see? Two eyes, a nose, and a mouth, just like me. What is wrong with you? Now, when I tell you I support a person, you notice I told you that I don't know Miss Clinton. I told you I didn't know Dr. Cosby. But I found out some things about him from one meeting that made me realize that he's a man that has some integrity. Because I had a conversation with him. I interviewed him for about an hour and a half. He got into some intimate details of his life with me, a perfect stranger. And when other people were ashamed or afraid to acknowledge that the black Muslim followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad were doing a lot of good, and that all black people should take a lesson from us. When Dr. Cosby said that all of us should emulate the black Muslims in that they set up schools and teach their children. They protect their women and their children. And they respect them. He said we should all copy that. And they went to work on him then. And you, just as usual, whoever white folk tell you don't like them. That's why I say what I say to you in front of them, because you so scared of them and they got so much on most of you that you know, if you got a position of authority, you can't really exercise it because you got tapes of you doing something you ain't got no business that they done trapped you in. That's why you ain't heard too much come out of all the black congressmen with all of that racism that was practiced against President Obama. You didn't hear none of them say nothing. Don't you know if I was lying, you'd have white people unmuting their phone like they thought they had something on me when they saw me or heard me spank my baby? I'm not saying this because I hate white people. I'm telling the truth on white people. And white people know it. I'm not going to wear your jacket. Why do you look like calling me or any black man a racist? In order to practice racism, you got to have some power. We ain't never had no power in this country. So they be quiet. You know, the white man ain't like you. He might play stupid. He ain't stupid. And when you think he's stupid, he got you just where he wants you. How in the world could he be stupid and hold you in slavery for 400 years? You slave, he the master, but he's stupid. How do you judge? Anyway, I want you to listen to our president. And then I will stop it at the appropriate time and ask you a question. And then you can answer it. And this goes for everybody. You can be black, white, I don't care. And then I will tell you, I should say after that, then you will understand why I supported President Obama once I got to know him, and why I'm supporting Hillary Clinton, because he said that's what I should do. For Bernie Sanders, I don't have a real big history on Bernie Sanders, but Bernie Sanders, when I had the choice between him and Miss Clinton, I chose him because I preferred to have a man as president. That was my main thing. And I didn't have no special dislike of Miss Clinton. I just preferred to have a man as president. But I got over it, thanks to Bernie and President Obama and Joe Biden. Because you know I wanted Joe Biden in the first place. But Joe didn't run. And well, you know, the vice president decided he wasn't gonna run. And I ain't surmising nothing behind that. If he didn't run, he didn't run. Okay. When Bernie didn't win, you know I was rooting for him. And when he didn't win, you know, I mean, just like the stuff they said was going on in the Democratic Party. I mean, people have picks and chooses that they want. And if they was in a position to help Hillary, they was going to do that if they wanted Hillary. I know how politics go. You know, I mean, that's all in politics. And but anyway, once Bernie didn't win, him and Hillary got together. She adopted a lot of the things that Bernie had in his platform. She put it in hers. Her and Bernie agreed. And he said, now I can support you. Well, okay. He was going to support it anyway, but he wanted to make sure that all of the people who put their trust in him didn't come up empty. But the things that he was talking about doing, now Hillary talking about doing it. So, but the major reason that I'm supporting her is because all three of them asked us to. If anyone has some proof that Miss Clinton is somehow a worse candidate than Donald Trump, just start laying out your evidence. And if your evidence shows me that, then I have to rethink my position. But I still need you to answer me some questions about how can you put a man in the position of president that has such little regard for his own daughter that he would tell in public, tell a radio host that the host could refer to, you can refer to my daughter as a piece of ass? Even don't mind getting up there talking about whether his wife had got clothes on or not. I mean, what is that? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's nothing compared to some of the other stuff he done said. No. But anyway, I'm just waiting on you who support him and think that you have a justifiable reason for supporting him. I'd like to hear your reason. And now listen to the president.
And it is that grassroots work that led us to win North Carolina in 2008, and you are why we will win North Carolina in 2016. And we got 6 days. 6 days. I love you too, but I got some business I gotta do here. I'll give you a hug on the way out. But right now, we gotta focus on some business. Not business, but
It'll come back on in a minute.
I have to wait until election day to do the right thing. You can vote right now. If you're not registered, you have until Saturday to register and vote at any one-stop location in your county. If you don't know where to go, then go to iwillvote.com. iwillvote.com. You can find the one-stop location near you. And we can finish what we started 8 years ago. Some of you 8 years ago were 10. You know who you are. So you may not remember exactly where we were as a country when I visited Raleigh in the final days of the 2008 campaign. We were living through 2 long wars. We were in the early days of the worst economic crisis in 80 years.
Is that true or false? That's true, eh? Okay.
People had lost their homes, their jobs, their 401ks had crashed, their home values were sinking. The economy was teetering on the edge of a Great Depression.
Is that true or false? Okay.
But we turned the page. We've seen America battle back. Last year, incomes rose faster than any time since at least 1968. Poverty fell at the fastest rate since at least 1968.
Is that true or false? It's true, ain't it? Okay. according to what the reports that they've been given.
Businesses turn job losses into 15 million new jobs. 20 million more people have health insurance that didn't have it before.
Is that true or false? You see, if you have did anything worthwhile for the people, all you got to do is remind people of what's been done. You don't have to lie to people. If you've really been a positive influence on the condition of people, all you got to do is, like that song say, may the works I've done speak for me. Huh? Okay, well, let's listen some more.
We kicked our addiction to foreign oil, doubled our production of renewable energy, became the world's leader in fighting climate change, brought home more of our men and women in uniform, took out Osama bin Laden, made sure that in all 50 states, people have the freedom to marry who they love. We did that.
Is that true or false? Well, where's all these people talking about he ain't done nothing? His administration ain't did nothing for the country. He done did things that he ain't even talked about. You done drunk. I drive back and forth across this country. You should see all of the highway work that's being done on this country. The infrastructure is being worked on.
That's what we did over these last 8 years. That's what you helped to make happen. And as I've traveled across all 50 states, as I've gone to big cities and small hamlets, what I have always seen is what makes America great, and that is its people. I have seen you, Americans of every faith, every race, every party, who know that we're stronger together. People young and old, men, women, gay, straight, black, white, Latino, Asian, Native American, folks with disability, all pledging allegiance to the red, white, and blue. That's the America I know. That's the America we love. And there's only one candidate in this race who has devoted her entire life to lifting up that better America. And that is the next president of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton.
What part of what he said just now is not true? Does Donald Trump have a history of helping anybody in this country but himself? If you know of someone that he's helped beside himself, come, share it with us. That's another reason that he would have for not showing his tax returns, because it would also show his charitable contributions to people. And if you notice, he showed you all these different hotels and stuff with his name on it, right? You nothing that he has done for someone else. He don't take you around and show you things. I can even show you more things I've done for the community than Donald Trump. And I'm a long way from being even a millionaire. I ain't got nothing. And I got more charity than he has with all his millions. Don't you know if he had did anything for anybody that he had been doing things for would be coming out just like the people that he was doing things to are now coming out. Huh? Well, let's listen to the president some more.
She's the right person at the right time. But keep in mind, North Carolina, all the progress that we've made over the last 8 years, all the progress we hope to make over the next 8 years, all of that goes out the window if we don't win this election. And we don't win this election, potentially, if we don't win North Carolina. So, I hate to put a little pressure on you, but the fate of the Republic rests on your shoulders. The fate of the world is teetering, and you, North Carolina, are going to have to make sure that we push it in the right direction. Now, I know that at the end of a campaign, you must be tired of TV commercials. There are so many negative ads, and there's so much noise, and there's so many distractions, and every day is just hysteria.
I feel it's my duty to remind you that even though it's negative ads, a different type of negative ads this time. The ads that Ms. Clinton and her team has basically put together, it's just Donald Trump's own words with him saying it. And if you call the ads negative, then you are saying that Donald Trump is a negative candidate. I mean, I've never seen so many ads just quoting and letting a candidate's own words be played and letting you make a decision on about whether you agree with the way he presents himself. I don't know if it's really right to call them negative ads on the Clinton's part, because Donald Trump is doing most of the talking. It's bad when a man say you playing negative ads. Even if his campaign, Donald Trump's campaign, accused the Clintons of playing negative ads, based on what? These are your words. So you've condemned yourself. I ain't got no problem with hearing my words back. You say you can play anything with my words on there. I'm not gonna be feeling embarrassed. No, because the things that I say are true. You know, you may hear people accuse me of saying cutting people off or whatnot. You notice, you'll never hear none of them people accuse Geno Jennings. For instance, they come in here and say these little pieces about Geno Jennings, but if you go look at that thing with Geno Jennings didn't treat me like he had treated all the other people. I'd be talking, he cutting off, he there grunting and moaning and going on. I wanted to tell him the stings a little on it, but I didn't. I just let him do that. And I, whenever, just like with Hogan Neubauer, they cut me off. I didn't squawk and holler about it. I just let him, you know, he was the host. I know how you're supposed to conduct yourself when you are a guest. If the host gets ready to speak and you're speaking, you're supposed to be quiet. So that's what I did. You do nothing but make yourself look bad. Even some of his people came up to me and told me it would have been a good debate if he'd have let you speak. I said, well, you know how that is, you know, when people don't have much to condemn in what you are saying, the only thing that's left for them to do is to cut you off to try to prevent you from saying it. So, you know, it's just like, you know, I don't mind you cutting me off to ask me a question about what I just said. That's how you learn. But just cutting me off without a question or whatnot, you just want to talk some more to prevent me from speaking. Well, people, intelligent people can see what you're doing, so I don't have to tell them that. They'll see it on their own. Because when I'm speaking, people listen to me because I have something to say. When someone is speaking and they really have something of substance to share, if you cut that person off, the listeners are going to be angry with you. They may not say nothing, but they're going to, you know, because they were learning something and you stopped them from learning by cutting them off. You see? So, you know, either way it go with me, when anyone get in here with me, come in here to argue with me, you have the proverbial tiger by the tail. You can't hold him and you can't let him go. Do you understand? So the tiger gonna get you. You understand? All right.
And over the top coverage, and at a certain point, there's a temptation to want to just tune it out. You kind of feel overdosed. Even those of us in politics sometimes feel like, I've had enough politics. I understand the feeling, I promise you. But I want you to push away the noise for a second and just focus on the choice you face in this election. Because the truth is, the choice, if we put aside all the noise, all the distractions, all the hype, all the nonsense, if you push all that away, this choice actually could not be simpler. It could not be clearer. It really couldn't. Okay, we got somebody who fell, which is what I expected. Make sure they get a little water, and if emergency medical is available, just make sure that you know that there's somebody down right here in the middle. They'll be okay. They'll be okay. It happens all the time. Now, okay, but hold on a second. I'm still focused on business. Not business, business. This choice actually is pretty clear because the guy that the Republicans nominated, even though a bunch of them knew they shouldn't nominate him, the guy they nominated, who many of the Republicans he was running against said was a con artist and a know-nothing and wasn't qualified to hold this office, this guy is temperamentally unfit to be commander-in-chief, and he is not equipped to be president. And this should not be a controversial claim. It really shouldn't. I mean, it's strange how over time, what is crazy gets normalized. And we just kind of assume, well, you know what, he said 100 crazy things, so the 101st thing we just don't even notice. But think about it. This is somebody who claims to be a great businessman. But I will tell you, I know a lot of business people right here in North Carolina and all across the country who've done really, really well without sniffing small businesses or workers out of what they owe them. We don't have a history of somebody who refuses to release any tax returns at all. And maybe it's because he's not as rich as he says he is. Maybe it's because he hasn't paid federal income taxes in years. Now this is something he said. This is not me making it up. He hasn't paid a dime. Not for our troops, not for our veterans, not for our great universities, not for our community colleges, not for building roads, not for maintaining our national parks, not for any of the things that help keep America the greatest nation on earth. He says he'll be his own foreign policy advisor. He says he can do that because he has a good brain. Now that is contestable. We can't afford a president who suggests that America should torture people or that we should ban entire religions from our country. We deserve better than a commander-in-chief who insults POWs or attacks a Gold Star mom.
Now, you remember, the President of the United States is not just the Chief Executive Officer of the United States government. He is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Now, if he is the Commander-in-Chief of all of the armed forces of the United States, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, all fall under his authority. How does a man that recognizes that the president is dead say of a American pilot who got shot down and was held a prisoner of war for over 5 years, I think it was. And when he was reminded that John McCain was a war hero, he said that he wasn't no hero. He's only hero because he got captured. I like those that didn't get captured. What kind of thing is that for a man who wants to be over the military, who is telling those who are in the military that they don't mean anything to him if they get captured? And having been in the military myself, I think I can speak for most military people is that, I don't agree with a man like that being over me and having the authority to order me into harm's way while telling me that I'm of such small value to him that if I get captured, he thinks less of me. When I wouldn't even been in a position to get captured if he hadn't sent me over there. Just like he talked about Sergeant Bergdahl, like he was the worst thing that ever happened. Yet you see soldiers coming back here with what is called post-traumatic stress syndrome. And, you know, I haven't really said a lot about it, but from time to time, I've had panic attacks and whatnot come back. I ain't never had nothing like that. And the only thing that I could attribute it to was, you know, I mean, I was a nervous wreck when I came back from Vietnam. Just, you know, I didn't know how much effect it had on me just seeing corpses. People laid out next to each other like so many, because they kept a head count, you know, on how many people got killed. You lay them out, then they count them. At the time, I didn't know, I didn't realize how it was affecting me to see human beings laid out like luggage on a curb, dead, limbs blowed off and all that kind of stuff. And I hear this man running for president. And has no clue but himself as the chief executive of the United States government and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, insulting servicemen, captured or not, they all were serving their country. And you don't know what that man went through when he was captured for 5 years, because he sure don't talk about it. Most people that's been over in war zone don't care to be talking about that stuff. And then this man he adds insult to injury, because when it came time for him to serve, he figured out a way not to. But he loves America, right? Well, the scripture says, greater love have no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. I guess he would have called Nathan Hale a fool, huh? He regretted that he had but one life to give for his country. Yeah, okay. But anyway, as I was listening to the president speaking, and he didn't lie on Donald Trump. He didn't tell lies to get Miss Clinton, get nobody to support Miss Clinton. What is it a lie that lady been in politics ever since she was young, back in the 60s? Was Michael Moore lying? Or was he telling the truth? And you know, the Bible says the scribes and Pharisees love to be seen, love greetings in the marketplaces and to be seen doing things, making long prayer and all that kind of stuff. just to be seen. He said they got their reward. They just wanted men to see them and praise them. But Jesus told his followers, don't be like that. Allah loves those who do good spontaneously. Not because somebody looking, but because they believe in the doing of good to others. Because Allah enjoined that on us to do that. You notice Miss Clinton ain't said a mumbling word about how to how the press been doing these emails and stuff like it's some big deal. They already know what was on her servers because it became a moot point when the government servers got hacked. Well, you're gonna prosecute yourself too? Who you prosecute when the government servers got hacked? Whose fault is that? And then you want to jump on Miss Clinton because you hacked her servers and you want to, publicize and leak out all of her private information to try to do what? To satisfy a witch hunt. And you know what a witch hunt is. It's people searching and seeking out people as witches. And you know there's no such creature. I know some of you would beg to differ with me. Have you ever asked yourself if these people, if there was such people that have magic powers and all that kind of stuff, why they don't use them on all of the wrongdoing people and put a stop to all the wrong? If I was a witch, I sure would use my powers to put an end to sickness and everything else. But I ain't no witch. I ain't got no powers to do nothing like that. The only power in this universe is truth. Power in the universe. Because with truth, you can accomplish anything. But it's not magic. It is the knowledge of cause and effect. And if you know what caused it, you can effect a cure. But anyway, let's get back to President Obama.
What denigrates our troops? We have had a Republican senator, not me, a Republican senator, say we can't afford to give the nuclear codes to someone so erratic. Now, if a Republican senator says that about the guy, why would we consider giving him the nuclear codes? It's like Hillary said, a man you can bait with a tweet is not a man you can trust with nuclear weapons. You can't do it. And yet, look, we have to acknowledge he's got support. He's got support here in North Carolina. He's got support in other states. And part of it is because he's been able to convince some people that he's going to be their voice. Now keep in mind, this is somebody who spent 70 years on this earth showing no respect for working people. Working people weren't invited to his hotels or his golf courses unless they were the maid or mowing the fairway. I mean, this is somebody who vilifies minorities, vilifies immigrants, vilifies people of Muslim faith, makes fun of Americans with disabilities. How is that person going to be your voice? Do you want somebody to be your voice who on tape brags about how being famous allows him to get away with sexual assault? Who calls women pigs or dogs or slobs and grades them on a scale of 1 to 10? That is not the voice of America. That's not the better angels of our nature. And we have a choice. We can choose that, or we can choose to teach our kids that our diversity is our strength. That women are full and equal citizens, capable of doing anything a man does. That our job, particularly when we have positions of authority, particularly when this country has blessed us, is to treat everybody with dignity, treat everybody with respect, to treat with generosity and kindness. We have to stop thinking that his behavior is normal, that it's within the bounds of what has up until this point been our normal political discourse. And you hear some folks now justifying it and making excuses. You hear some Republicans who, they know he's not qualified, but they say, well, you know what, character doesn't matter, knowing the issues doesn't matter, and policy doesn't matter, so long as he supports the Republican agenda. But
no, that's not all to it. You have to remember, Grover Norquist said, we're not looking for a fearless leader. You know, in the next so many years, the leadership gonna come out of the House and the Senate. All we need to do is elect somebody who has good dexterity. Find a good Republican that can sign whatever we put in front of him. Well, Donnie is your man. So they want, in essence, to turn the presidency into a puppet. And they know they couldn't do that with Hillary Clinton. They know they can't. Remember they said that the reason they wasn't going to vote on President Obama's nominee for the Supreme Court was because he's going out of office, and they think the American people should be able to, I'm gonna let the president tell you, but he'll remind you of that. You know, these people just lie to the American people, coming and going. Just whatever lie suits them to tell you, that's how little they think of our intelligence. That they just tell us anything and we go for the okie doke. One of them who refused, if they're on the ballot, don't just elect Miss Clinton, give her the Congress, give her the majority in the House of Representatives, and give her the majority in the Senate, so that she can go on and do what she wanted to do to move the country ahead. That's what you need to do.
I have to tell you, this office, you know, it's about who you are and what you are, and it doesn't change after you occupy the office. It just magnifies it. If you disrespect women before you are elected president, you will disrespect women when you're in office. If you accept the support of Klan sympathizers, the Klan, and hesitate when asked about that support, then you'll tolerate that support when you're in office. If you disrespect the Constitution before you're elected president, and you threaten to shut down the press when it writes stories about you don't like, or you threaten to throw your opponent in jail without any due process, or you discriminate against people of different faiths, then imagine what you'll do when you actually have the power to violate the Constitution along those lines. And I want to speak not just to Democrats, I want to speak to Republicans here in North Carolina as well. You know, look, I am obviously a partisan Democrat. I understand that, but we're not Democrats or Republicans first, we're Americans first. And there's certain standards of behavior that we should expect out of our leaders. I've got Republican friends who don't think or act the way Donald Trump does. This is somebody who is uniquely unqualified. I ran against John McCain. I ran against Mitt Romney. I thought I'd be a better president. But I never thought that the Republic was at risk if they were elected. And guess what, North Carolina? The good news is all of you are uniquely qualified to make sure this guy who's uniquely unqualified does not become president. You just got to vote. You just got to vote. And the nice thing is you don't just have to vote against that guy because you've got a candidate who is actually worthy of your vote, who is smart and who is steady and who is tested, is probably the most qualified person ever to run for this office, and that is the next president of the United States, Hillary Clinton. Here's somebody who has dedicated her life to making this country better. Think about how she got her start. While Donald Trump and his dad were being sued by the Department of Justice for denying housing to African-American families. No, I'm not making this up. I'm just stating facts. At that same time, Hillary was going undercover from school to school to make sure disadvantaged kids were getting an equal shot at a good education. That tells you something about their respective values. And Hillary hasn't stopped fighting for justice, hasn't stopped fighting for equality ever since. Her heart has always been in the right place. And she works hard every single day. I know she worked for me. First of all, she ran against me, and she worked really hard. And then she worked for me, and she worked really hard. And she was there in the Situation Room, and she was there in the Oval Office. And when we were making big decisions about going after bin Laden, even when it was risky, when it was time for us to figure out how to win back world opinion in the wake of the Iraq War, she circled the globe tirelessly as Secretary of State, earned the respect of world leaders. And she, you know what? She's not flashy. She's not going around spending all the time giving big stem winders. And so, as a consequence, sometimes she's underappreciated here at home. But she made me a better president. And she's an outstanding public servant. And she knows her stuff. And she understands the challenges we face. And she is tough. And when things don't go her way, she doesn't whine. And she doesn't complain. She doesn't blame others, suggesting everything's rigged. You know, I had a chance to meet the Tar Heels basketball teams, the men and the women. And, you know, here's one thing I know. If in the middle of a game, you're spending all your time arguing with the refs, and start making excuses about how you're going to lose because the refs aren't doing the right thing, then you're a loser, and you shouldn't win. And Hillary, she just works through whatever's in front of her. She's got grit, and she's got resilience. And if she gets knocked down, she just comes back up, and she goes back at it. And she knows, most importantly, what the decisions that a president makes need.
Now remember, the president and Donald Trump both agreed on that. Donald Trump said she's a tough lady. Huh? A worthy adversary. Huh? You see? So, and she don't whine. He done did more whining. And regardless to what they do to her, she just takes it and keep going. She bears that little Energizer bunny, ain't she? Takes a licking and, no, that's the Timex, huh? Takes a licking and keeps on ticking. Yeah. Just keeps going and going and going. And regardless to what people said about her, it never changed her zeal and love for the United States. She should not be rewarded with disrespect. No one who works for their nation like she has all of their adult life should be rewarded with disrespect and be lied on, and when asked, will present some evidence that supports what you're saying about her, they just keep saying the same thing without any evidence. And when you give them evidence, it's like they say, lock her up, lock her up. Well, what about Donald Trump is the one that's been defrauding people? Donald Trump is the one that's been accused of rape and have charges filed against him now, according to what the media said. Donald Trump admitted that sometimes he don't pay people. And you want to lock her up? Y'all some strange folks.
To you, this isn't abstract stuff we're talking about here. If you're a student, whether you get Pell Grant or we're able to make sure that you don't have a mountain of debt when you get out of school, that depends on decisions that are made in part by the president. If you're a soldier, whether you get deployed to some far-off land, that is up to the commander-in-chief. If you're a young person who was brought to this country as a child, has grown up as an American, but maybe doesn't have the papers, and now you're trying to figure out how you can contribute to this country you call home, that is something the president has influence over. Veterans, seniors, a single mom who needs some help with childcare, that's what these decisions are about. And Hillary understands that, and she knows those folks need a champion. And she's actually got plans to help. She's actually got plans. The other guy is not a big plan guy. She's got plans. She can show you how she's going to make sure more people have early childhood education. She's going to show how young people can have more affordable college educations. And while she's executing those plans, she's also going to respect working Americans and the values we care about. She'll be a commander-in-chief who finishes the job defeating ISIS. She will be smart and she will be steady. And by the way, she's going to need help, and that's why I want all of you to also focus on making sure Deborah Ross is going to be a senator right alongside her when Hillary gets elected. Because Deborah's heard your story. She's been out there fighting for working families, making sure they get a fair shot and a great education, and that seniors are secure with the retirement that they have earned. And unlike her opponent, she doesn't support Donald Trump. I want to take a minute just to talk about Senator Burr. He and I came in together when we were in the Senate, and personally, he's a decent guy. I got nothing wrong, there's nothing against Richard Burr. But when I hear him say there's not a separation between me and Donald Trump, that's troubling. Either he actually means it, in which case he agrees with everything Donald Trump says. That's what it says. That's what you mean when you say there's not a separation. Or he doesn't mean it and he's just saying it to get elected. That's not good either way. You don't want a senator who spends all his time saying, yes, sir, Mr. Trump, what do you want me to do, Mr. Trump? And lately, he's been mimicking Donald Trump. Last week, he actually joked about violence against Hillary. That's not something we do. That's not something, I tell you, if I heard a Democrat saying that, I would condemn them in a hot second. You don't talk about violence against public officials, even in a joke. And, you know, I want to acknowledge he apologized, but the problem is this is becoming normal. This is sort of the red meat they're throwing their audiences. And it's not normal. And it's not who North Carolina is. North Carolina is full of good and decent people and courteous people and people who are willing to cooperate with each other to try to make things better. And that's what America's about. So let me be clear, North Carolina. Witness. Let me be clear. There is something more at stake in this election than just plans or policies. This is about the character of our nation. When Hillary was young, her mom taught her the Methodist creed. Do all the good you can for all the people you can in all the ways you can as long as you ever can. That's her North Star. That's what guides her. She believes in that. She believes we can summon what's best in each of us and make this country better for all of us. That's what America's about. We are a country like no other, not because of the size of our skyscrapers or the power of our armies, but because we are a place founded for the sake of an idea. We hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. We don't have to be born into wealth or privilege in this country. We don't have to practice a certain faith. We don't have to have a certain last name. We just have to be willing to contribute. We just have to be willing to put our shoulder to the wheel of history. And we can be a part of this community that we call America. That's what drove patriots to choose revolution over tyranny. That's what led GIs to liberate a continent. That's what gave women the courage to reach for the ballot. That's what gave marchers the courage to cross a bridge in Selma. That's what allowed workers to organize for collective bargaining and better wages. That's what made America exceptional. That's what makes America great. In other words, America depends on you. You, all of you. America's never been about what one person says he'll do for us. I didn't say yes I can, I said yes we can. It's about what can be achieved by us, each of us, together, through that hard, slow, and yet sometimes frustrating work of self-government. That means all of us. Just as Louis Brandeis once said, the most important office in a democracy is the office of citizen. Not president, not senator, not mayor, congressman, citizen. That's you. And that's what Hillary's counting on, because she understands that in a big democracy like this, a diverse country like this, it all comes down to what the people say. And she understands it doesn't work. Our democracy doesn't work if we demonize each other, if we just make stuff up, if we spend all our time just trying to tear the other person down just for the sake of seeing if we can get a little more power. She understands that issues aren't black and white. And yes, progress requires compromise, even when you're right. And she knows that none of us are perfect, not even our presidents. But that we should try to conduct ourselves with basic honesty and decency and big-heartedness. Because that's what our moms and dads taught us. And they were onto something. They understood that sometimes what life's about is pretty simple. It's like, how do you treat people? Are you useful? Are you kind? Are you generous? Do you treat people with respect? She understands that. And Hillary will continue the progress that we've made. And she'll need allies like Deborah Ross. Because it's not enough just to stick Hillary with Republican cameras the way they're behaving right now. I wish they were behaving differently. I've tried. I've reached out to them. They didn't work with me when I took office, even when we were trying to save folks' jobs and prevent depression. Even when they control the Senate and the House, they have trouble passing their own stuff. And so they just resort constantly to gridlock and obstruction and threats to shut down the government and wreck the economy if they don't get their way. That's not how democracy works. That's not what your parents taught you. We teach even our little kids in the sandbox, well, share and cooperate and don't hit each other. And right now, because a lot of them think that Trump will lose, they're already promising even more unprecedented dysfunction in Washington, which is pretty hard to do. They're promising years of investigations, years of hearings, more shutdowns, more obstruction. I'm not making this up. It is all, take a look. This is what they're saying. More repeal votes. Some are saying they won't appoint a ninth Supreme Court justice at all. Deborah's opponent, Senator Burr, just said that if Hillary wins, he'll do everything he can to block all Supreme Court nominations. Now keep in mind that the reason they said they would not have a hearing or vote for my Supreme Court nomination, bucking all of American history, was because we thought the American people should decide the next Supreme Court justice. Now they're saying, well, if they don't decide the way we want them to decide, maybe we won't even do that. 11 years ago, Richard Burr said a Supreme Court without 9 justices would not work. Well, what changed? What, only Republican presidents get to nominate judges? Is that in the Constitution? I used to teach constitutional law. I've never seen that provision. You've got some Republicans in Congress who are already suggesting they will impeach Hillary. She hasn't even been elected yet. It doesn't matter what evidence, they'll find something. That's what they're saying already. How does our democracy function like that? Look, nobody likes gridlock, but I want to be clear about something. Gridlock is not some mysterious fog that just kind of descends on Washington. It's not like some apparition that shows up. It's not like a monster movie. Gridlock's coming. That's not how it works. Gridlock is not happening because both sides, Democrats and Republicans, are being equally unreasonable. I mean, I know it's hard to view me as objective here, but I'm about to leave, so I'm just letting you know the truth. Wait, hold on, still got some business to do. Gridlock is what happens when Republican politicians, like Richard Burr, decide, not based on the merits, not based on what's good for their constituents, but based on political calculation, that they are going to oppose anything that is good for the country just because a Democrat proposes it. That's how gridlock happens. And that's essentially Richard Burr's campaign platform at this point. And as I said before, I know Richard Burr. I used to work out with him in the gym in the Senate. He's a perfectly nice guy. But what's happened is that they have built up this new normal in the party where he's got to say anything in order to get elected. So if you think vote for gridlock is a good slogan, then you should vote for the Republicans. But if you believe, like I believe, that America can do better, if you believe that we should be out there not trying to block each other from doing stuff, but creating jobs for families, lifting wages, child care, if you care about equal pay for women and raising the minimum wage, then I need you to vote for Democrats up and down the state. I need you to vote for Hillary Clinton. I need you to vote for Deborah Ross. They're ready to roll up their sleeves and move this country forward. They don't want to look backwards. They want to go forward. Look, I know it's easy to get cynical. There's a lot in this election season that can give you a reason to be cynical. But right now, I just want you to know, all of you, it's in your power to reject the divisive, mean-spirited politics that would take us backwards. That's not how it has to be. That's not how it's always been. But it's going to depend on you. You can elect a leader who has spent her entire life trying to move this country forward. Our first female president, who will be an example for our daughters and our sons, that everybody has a chance to contribute and serve. You have a chance to shape history. What an amazing thing that is. If Hillary wins North Carolina, she wins. And that means that when I said the fate of the Republic rests on you, I wasn't joking. But that shouldn't make you fearful. That should make you excited. It's not often where you can move the arc of history. Don't let that chance slip away. Young people here, it's not often that you know your voice will have an impact. Don't let it slip away. Don't give away your power. Don't fall for the easy cynicism that says my vote doesn't matter, or all politicians are the same. It does matter, and they're not all the same. That's what Hillary's opponent wants you to think, because they don't want you to vote. And I've got to say, he has been getting help from Republican politicians in the state who've been trying to keep you from voting. We're the only advanced democracy on earth that purposely tries to make it harder for people to vote. But even within sometimes unfortunate traditions in America, what's been going on lately here in this state's been really troubling. A few years ago in North Carolina, Republicans passed a law to make it harder for African Americans to vote. That is not my opinion. Earlier this year, a federal judge said that based on the evidence, those who voted for these laws targeted black voters with, and I'm quoting, surgical precision. It was one of the worst voter suppression laws in the country. Here in North Carolina, not back in the 1960s, now. Already, right now, Donald Trump's calling on his supporters to monitor certain areas. Where are those certain areas he's talking about? There are groups that are not even making secret plans. They're just on public saying, we're going to try and suppress the African American vote on Election Day, or the youth vote on Election Day. If you think that is accidental, then I want you to think about it, a woman named Grace Bell Hardison. Grace Bell lived in Belhaven, North Carolina her entire life. All 100 years of her life. Just a few weeks ago, Republicans challenged her voter registration status and tried to remove her from the voter rolls. And she heard about it and she said, I can't vote. 100 years old. Now, Grace got her voter registration reinstated. And you better believe she's going to vote. But this 100-year-old woman wasn't alone in being targeted. The list of voters Republicans tried to purge was 2/3 black and Democratic. That didn't happen by accident. It's happening in counties across this state. Now, there was a time when systematically denying black folks the right to vote was considered normal as well. And so, young people, I want you to listen up. Now, parents, I want you to talk about this. It was not that long ago that folks had to guess the number of jelly beans in a jar, or bubbles on a bar of soap, or recite the Constitution in Chinese in order to vote. It wasn't that long ago when folks were beaten trying to register voters in Mississippi. It wasn't that long ago that a man named Wed Fri in Greensboro, the first African-American Chief Justice of North Carolina's Supreme Court, was denied the right to register to vote because he had failed the so-called literacy test after he had graduated from college. It wasn't that long ago. Grace Bell Hardison, 100 years old. Imagine what she's seen in the arc of her life. Born at a time where there are barely cars on the road, no planes in the sky. Think about everything she's seen. A great-grandmother, probably a great-great-grandmother. How are we going to let, after all she's been through, folks disrespect her like that? How are we going to betray all those who worked so hard, risked everything for the vote so that we could pull the lever, and we're not going to vote? What's our excuse? Now, those who wanted to suppress the vote, they're going to think the law was struck down. Your rights have been restored. Right now, there are more one-stop early vote sites in North Carolina than ever before. You can register and vote at any site in your county as long as you do it by Saturday. It's easier to vote than ever in North Carolina. But if you don't vote, then you've done the work of those who would suppress your vote without them having to lift a finger. Come on. Back in 2008, I won North Carolina by 14,000 votes. That's about 2 votes per precinct. If just 2 votes per precinct had gone the other way, I would have lost North Carolina. How can you say your vote doesn't count? Each of you could swing an entire precinct for Hillary if you vote. Or you could swing it for her if you don't vote. Your vote matters. Young people especially, your vote matters. If you've been marching for criminal justice reform, that's great. But you know what? You better vote for a president and Congress who actually care about disrupting the pipeline from underfunded schools to overcrowded jails. Protests aren't enough if you're not voting. You've been marching for the environment and to do something about climate change. I've heard you. But you better vote for the next president and Congress believing in science and who will protect the progress we've made so we can leave behind a world that we're proud of for our children. You want more good jobs? You want to have a higher minimum wage? You want help with respect to student loans? Don't just sit there and complain. Don't just sit there in the barber shop and the beauty shop and, watching the Tar Heels and say, politics is all messed up, but what's the score? No. You can watch the game after you vote. And the good news is you got a proof point. You know it works. You know it works because so many of you voted no way. And it's because of you that millions of people have health care today that didn't have it before. It's because of you that millions of young people are going to college that couldn't afford it before. It's because of you that a Marine can serve his country without hiding the husband he loves. It's because of you that more young immigrants came out of the shadows and are serving our country. North Carolina, I'm asking you today what I asked of you 8 years ago. I'm just asking you to believe, not in my abilities to change, not even just in Hillary's ability to bring about positive change. I'm asking you to believe in your ability to bring about change. I am not on the ballot. But I tell you what, Fairness is on the ballot. Decency is on the ballot. Justice is on the ballot. Progress is on the ballot. Our democracy is on the ballot right now. And Hillary gives you a chance to advance our democracy. But you got to do everything you can to make sure everybody votes. Your friends, your family, your cousins, your uncle, your neighbors, your co-workers. Tell them this is the moment where America stands up for our best selves. Stand up and reject cynicism. Stand up and reject fear. Choose hope. Choose hope. Choose hope. Choose hope. Choose hope. Vote. And if you do, we will elect Hillary Clinton the next president of the United States. We will elect Deborah Ross the next senator from the great state of North Carolina. We'll continue this amazing journey and finish what we started and remind the world why this is the greatest country on earth. God bless you, North Carolina. God bless the United States of America.
I thought you all needed to hear that because, you know, on the back of our magazine, we say that one of the things that the Muslims believe is that we believe that those of us who are the descendants, whose parents or grandparents are descendants of slaves, should be allowed to establish a separate state or territory, either here on this continent or elsewhere, and that the government of America is obligated to provide for us the necessities that we need in order to go for ourselves for the next 20 to 25 years or until we are able to produce those things for ourselves. If you believe that, then how can you not believe that you should vote to make sure that the government still be here to help you do that? You need to get yourself up and go vote. If you haven't registered to vote, you need to go register to vote. You know, if you want somebody to care about you, only a fool wants somebody to care about them while they don't care about nobody. If you think that the American people should care enough about us to help us to go free, indeed, in a separate state or territory of our own, don't you think we should show that we care enough about the American people to participate in that which, in electing people that have America's best interests at heart? So I'm going to say it again. You need to go and register to vote. And you need to make this vote a vote of conscience, a vote of a sober mind, and honestly weigh in your mind who is best qualified to be president of the United States between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And if you care about, if it was your country, since you don't say this is yours, if it was yours, which one of them, if you had to choose between the two, which one would you choose? I think you would choose the one that you believe cared something about you. So I'm going to close there. I let you hear the president's address, which is really what I wanted you to hear, and Michael Moore's. We're getting close to the end of this now. So you think over it, and we will talk some more tomorrow evening if it pleases Allah. Maybe I'll get around to the Constitution again. So until then, may Allah bless us all, keep us safe, and in our right minds. May Allah's Assalamu alaikum.
Your conference recording.